Hi everybody, welcome back to Small Caliber Arms Review. I'm Richard. Today we're going to be taking a look at one of my favorite cartridges. I say that a lot because there's a lot of cartridges that are my favorites. Anyways, we're going to be taking a look at a comparison between the 22 WRF and the 22 WMR. What are the differences in those two rounds? Well, first of all, let's talk about the WRF because it came out first. The 22 WRF was chambered for the Winchester M1890 or the model 1890 Winchester. A little pump action 22. One of my favorite guns. I think it's just the coolest thing since sliced bread. A little tiny slide action, pump action, and you've seen this one on a couple videos. If you haven't, I suggest you go and watch them. Helps me out. Anyways, it came out in 1890 and it was supposed to be a little bit more powerful round than the 22 LR. Now, the 22 WRF was a pretty big change from it, really, because we went from having an outside lubricated bullet, like in the 22 long rifle, the shorts, the longs, the long rifles. And these have little grooves on the outside there where the lube is on there. And also your bullet is the same size as the case. What they did in the WRF was they made the case just a little bit bigger diameter and put the lube grooves on the inside of the case there. That way the lube is protected by the case. And the dimensions on these have changed a little bit from the standard 22s. These, like I said, the case is a little bit bigger, and instead of being a rebated bullet or a heeled bullet and stuck down in the same size diameter case, this is the same diameter all the way down inside there. Now, it was supposed to be a little more effective, have a little more killing power out to 75 yards, which made it a little better hunting round. The WRF could be found from 40 to 45 grain bullets, not a big selection of bullets in it. And the velocity was usually going to be somewhere around 1,050 to 1,450 feet per second. And most rifles chambered in 22 WRF had a 1 in 14 twist. Now, it wasn't the only gun that was chambered for the WRF. There were several other ones. Marlin made some, Savage, Stevens, all the other manufacturers made it because it was a pretty good round. Then in 1959, Winchester come out with the 22 Winchester Magnum Rimfire. It's pretty much the same bullet, it's the same parent case, they just made it a little bit longer. So they went from being 0.965 inches on the WRF to being 1.055 on the Winchester Magnum Rimfire. So it's going to give it a little more velocity. Now they also changed the case a little bit, where the case on the WRF was slightly tapered, and I mean slightly. The case on the Winchester Magnum Rimfire is a straight wall case, absolutely straight wall case. And the bullet diameters are 0.004 of an inch in difference in diameter. The 22 WRF is slightly bigger. So you could think of it sort of as a 22 short compared to a 22 long rifle because of the different lengths on there. But the diameters being slightly different and only 0.004, it's not that much. I have read instances where you can fire the WRFs in a firearm chambered for the 22 Magnums. You're going to get a little bit different pressures because your bullet is slightly larger on the WRF than it was in the than it is in the 22 Magnum Rimfire. Your chamber pressures are going to be a little bit different. In the WRF, it was about 19,000 psi. In the 22 Magnum, it's about 24,000 psi. So with having a bigger bullet, if you fire it in the Magnum, you're going to get a little bit of a pressure spike. I don't know how much. I'm not a ballistician, so I couldn't say for sure. But I have heard of people successfully firing them in the 22 Magnum Rimfires. Like I said, in 1959, they come out with the Winchester Magnum Rimfire. And it was first chambered in a Marlin lever action in 1959. Winchester didn't actually chamber one until 1960 when they come out with the, I think it's a Model 61 slide action rifle, similar to the 1890. When you start looking at the more modern ones, this is a video I just recently did. This is a Rossi gallery gun, and it is chambered in 22 Magnum. There's a lot of guns chambered in 22 Magnum because since 1959 they've really, gotten really popular, and so much so that when you go to buy 22 WRFs now, you're going to be limited to, these are CCIs, I believe here. Yeah, CCI 22 WRFs. These are a 45 grain hollow point. That is pretty much the only ones you're going to be able to find with that. When you get into the 22 Magnums, you got Arms Corps, you got Winchester, you got Remington, you got Hornady, you got CCI, we have Browning. Everybody that makes a rimfire cartridge pretty much makes a 22 Magnum rimfire cartridge out there. So you really have no problem finding those. They're going to be a little more expensive than 22 long rifle. The 22 WRF is probably going to run you pretty close to what it would cost you for 22 Magnum. But these, they only do limited runs on these, and they're pretty much made for the older rifles like I've got the 1890, the 1906, the ones that were specifically chambered for the 22 WRF. They're both really good rounds. You're going to have a lot higher velocities out of the 22 Magnums. I think you go anywhere from 1530 and a 50 grain, because they do make a 50 grain 22 Magnum, and you can go up to 2300 feet per second in, say, like the 30 grain. And you got these are Hornady VMAX 22 mags here. I'm not sure what the velocity is on these. These are 2200 feet per second. So you're going to get a lot flatter shooting trajectory with the 22 Magnums just because they're traveling so much faster. Excellent round for varmint control, small game, rabbits, groundhogs, stuff like that, because it is able to reach out there. Now, the 22 Winchester rimfire is not a slouch. It just wasn't made to go as far as what you can shoot a 22 Magnum with. There's always going to be advancements. Things are going to get better. And the 22 Magnum is an excellent round. I love the round, but I still have a soft spot in my heart for the 22 Winchester rimfire because I really like these old guns. Anyways, that's my look at the difference between 22 WRF and 22 WMR. Pretty close, but completely different rounds. Thanks for watching. If you could, reach up here and hit this button and check out some of my other videos, and hit the little round one up here to subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching.